puppy girl. How much she's talking right now. It's so cute. Yeah? Are you trying to be on camera? Are you trying to tell your story? Are you? She wants to tell the story, huh? It's a crazy story, but it's a good one. Okay, I'm going to share my home birth story with you guys today. So, where do I begin? I found out I was pregnant at the end of October. So perfect time to enjoy Thanksgiving, being pregnant. Luckily had my appetite and could not wait to eat all my favorite foods on Thanksgiving. Fast forward to my 20-week appointment. Jake and I found out we were having a little girl and we were so excited. But that is also around the time when we found out that COVID was a thing. The coronavirus was a huge blow to all of our plans with our pregnancy. I will never forget, we found out that we couldn't have any family be at the birth and couldn't have visitors. And of course, you know, I really wanted to have my mom there or my sisters there, and that was no longer even an option. So we kind of adjusted what that whole hospital birth would look like. And it was disappointing. I mean, I was super bummed. I'm very close with my family, and especially my mom, and to not be able to have her there, I was really upset. Well, then we found out that he would no longer be able to go to my appointments with me. And because this is something that we both had wanted for so long, to have another baby, it was another big disappointment, because that just meant we couldn't, you know, share those moments together. He couldn't come to my appointments, and, you know, we looked forward to them every, you know, week, or I guess they weren't every week at that point, but we just looked forward to these appointments. We couldn't wait. And now I had to go by myself, and that was a huge bummer. So the first appointment and last appointment that I went to without him, maybe I went to 2 without him. Either way, I went, and it was just, you know, the excitement was a little bit, it was just like a little rain cloud over what should have been such a joyous and exciting, you know, moment. And I left one of those appointments and I was like, this isn't what I want. And I had just had the conversation about how the birth plan would look with just my husband there. And of course, there was the warning of, you know, he'll have to be tested if he has any symptoms, or, you know, if we think he has coronavirus, or if he gets tested and has coronavirus, obviously he can't be there. And just all of these fears were creeping in about having to do this by myself, or just it not looking the way I had originally envisioned this whole birth experience. And so, and I know I was not the only one going through that. And if you're watching this and you too have a COVID baby, you know that was a hard time. And so my heart goes out to you if you're watching this, because it was stressful and it was scary. But my focus was like, okay, I cannot let this ruin my experience. It's not going to happen. I'm determined to have the birth that I want. And so that is why I looked into a home birth. And rewind, like before I was even pregnant, I remember bringing up home birth to my husband Jake, and he was like, we weren't even pregnant at the time, and he was just like, I don't know about that. Like, that's a little much. And I was like, okay, like, I get it. But now I was like, a home birth is starting to look like a pretty good option. So I brought it up, and luckily he was receptive this time, and he also was not happy with how things were going just because of COVID. And, you know, the idea of having our baby in our home and just like being able to be there and have our family there and not have to worry about, you know, the protocols that were happening at the hospital, and not having to worry about, you know, having our baby in an environment where like there could be possibly sick people in and out. It just, everything just seemed to be a better choice for us to go with the home birth. I was trying to learn everything I could about home birth, how to have a natural labor without medication, how to, you know, just have a smooth delivery, how to prepare my body for this. I watched a million home birth videos and just wanted to get a look at everyone else's experience so that I could feel prepared for any circumstance that I may run into. And I heavily relied on YouTube at that time. I mean, I found so much information. You know, I learned so much about pregnancy and home birth, and Jake and I decided to look into a midwife. And the first midwife that I came across was one here in Traverse City, and her name is Kathy Mulder, and she is amazing. She just delivered her 1,000th baby. She has delivered 1,000 babies. Everything that was said about her was just wonderful. She had so many wonderful reviews, and I thought, well, she's got a lot of experience. Everybody seems to love her. Let me just give her a call and just, you know, have her answer some questions for me. So keep in mind, at this time, Jake wasn't able to go to my appointments, and I found a midwife who was, you know, really encouraging me to bring him. She really wanted him to come. She wanted him to be a part of everything, and so that was a really big plus. And so we made our list out of pros and cons. We made a list of all the questions that we had for her, and we went to our appointment, and we left there feeling so good. She answered everything, you know, perfectly, and we felt really good about it when we left. And even my husband says, you know, he went into it open-minded, thinking that he would leave there like still unsure, but when we left there, we were both like, yeah, we're doing this. Like, we're gonna do the home birth. And so we went home and we talked about it some more, and we continued to pray about it, and we, you know, we leaned on some people from our church and asked them to pray for us to make the right decision, and we decided to do it. Now, for any of you who's had a home birth, if you dealt with any, you know, outside opinions that like were really hard to hear, or you know, fears that others had for you, I am in the same boat. We dealt with a lot of people feeling, you know, scared for us, and we both totally understood, and we know that all of their fears were understandable, and everybody wanted the best for us. But I have to say that, you know, you have to live with your choices. And so if you're in that boat where you are unsure if you should have a home birth because you're worried, you know, about disappointing other people, or, you know, if other people are trying to tell you that it's too risky or it's not the right decision, you have to trust yourself and trust your gut, and of course do your research. And a home birth is not for everybody. I totally get that. You know, thankfully, my pregnancy was very low risk, and, you know, I didn't have complications or anything leading up to that. And still things can happen, but we did not want fear to make our decisions for us. We wanted to do what we felt was right. And ultimately, we trusted God to get us through it. And we made that decision. And it was not an easy one to make, but we knew that we were making the right choice for us. And so I encourage anybody out there who may find themselves questioning it because of outside opinions, as much as you can respect and still love those who love you and just want the best for you, you can make your decision and be at peace with it. And at the end of the day, you are the only one who has to live with that decision. And so trust yourself, trust your body. But yeah, we went for it. So the rest of the pregnancy was smooth. Everything was great. And a few days leading up to my daughter's birth, I was due on July 12th. So July, I would say 9th and 10th, I was having some irregular contractions. And at this point, I was so ready to have her. I was feeling humongous. I was feeling pregnant. I was just like over it. Like you kind of get to the end and you're like just so ready to meet your baby. So I was doing everything I could to try and kind of get things going. I had been eating my pineapple and drinking my red raspberry leaf tea, going on walks, bouncing on my exercise ball. If you have ever been pregnant, you know all the tricks. Let's see. So on the 10th, the 10th, I went through that on the 9th, texted her at night. The 10th, all day long, same thing, irregular contractions, just like thinking that baby was coming. And she said, same thing, just get some rest, rest while you can, because she's coming and you're going to want the rest. And so she was right. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Just go to sleep. Tomorrow's a new day. Maybe she'll be here. So I went to use the bathroom because any of you who has been pregnant knows pregnancy bladder is the worst. You're peeing constantly. You get comfortable. You're ready to go to sleep and then you have to pee again. So I was like doing my routine, like, okay, it's time for bed. Let me go use the bathroom. I went to go pee and I stood up and my water broke. And it wasn't just like a little trickle, it was like my water broke. So I contacted my midwife and she was like, well, I'm packing up my stuff, I'm on my way. She was like, things are probably going to start to pick up, so just try and stay comfortable and I'll be there soon. And things started to pick up. And by the time she got there, we started getting the pool set up. So I did opt to have a water birth. And so my husband, got everything all ready to get the pool all together, to get the water in it and all of that. It's such a task, but he and my dad made sure we had everything ready days before this. And we were ready to go. We were ready to have this baby. So at first I just used my exercise ball and kind of swayed through some of the contractions, and I thought, this is fine. Like, this is a piece of cake. This is nothing. And I swear it was like that things changed, and then it was very intense. And I know it progressed pretty naturally. I mean, obviously it was natural. There was no Pitocin this time. There was no 0 to 100. So there was a progression, but it felt like I had just said, oh, this is a piece of cake. And the next thing you know, I'm like, whew, okay, this is intense. And I have to say, looking back now, it was such a good experience. So being able to have my mom there and my sister there and just my whole family was surrounding me, my husband, it was everything that I had envisioned. Being able to have the people I love there and that kind of support, I can't imagine doing it any other way. It was a dream. It really was. I was able to have my husband play my favorite worship songs, and he and my sister were reading me scripture from the Bible, and it was just like everything I wanted. My mom was there to hold my hand, and it was so great. Rewind back to, things getting intense. So I was able to get in the pool, and that really offset some of the intense contractions that I was having. And it seems like we hit like a wall, like we hit kind of a standstill where I was feeling like I needed to push, and I was feeling like the baby was trying to come down, but she wasn't. And so suggested that I go and try and empty my bladder. So I walked back to the bathroom, which was pretty difficult at this point because things were pretty intense. So I got to the bathroom and I was trying to pee and I could not go. Like, it was just like I couldn't pee. And contractions it's very intense pressure. So you almost feel like you could pee, but nothing was happening. I was just basically sitting there going through contractions and not able to pee. And she told me I was going to have a catheter. And this was something that I was not prepared for. This is something that I didn't see in any other home birth stories, or I was just like blindsided. Like, what? A catheter? Like, I'm not ready for that. I don't want to do that. Because at this point you are going through so much, but you feel like you don't want any extra. Like, no, I don't want to do that. So I remember praying, like, please, God, please help me pee. I just want to pee, please. I don't want a catheter. And by the grace of God, I was able to pee, and things were just picking up more and more. So at this point, my midwife was like, let's just check you. Because at this point, we hadn't checked me at all. We were just kind of letting things happen. And so this time we decided to move to my room. So we went to my bed so I could lay down and she could, examine where I'm at, check my cervix, see how far dilated I was and how things were progressing. And she went to check me and noticed I had a cervical lip, which is where, the baby can't come through the cervix because it's hung up on your cervix. It's not fully dilated. So she told me at that point she was going to have to manually, go in and move the cervix, so the baby can come through. So she did, and it seemed like as soon as that happened, everything changed. I could literally feel the baby coming down, and like, okay, the baby is now ready to come out. I can tell it's coming down. I can feel it. It's happening. And so I finally could have productive pushes, and I was ready to push not long after. One of the really cool things about having a home birth is, and I don't even know if this is like with every midwife, but with my midwife, I had to have a birth record, and I'm guessing you obviously have this with the hospital, but I don't remember ever getting to really see it. And so this is pretty cool, but I have like a list here of like all the details of everything that was happening during my labor. My water broke at 11:35 p.m. and when she went to check me and kind of help, move things along, which is to help the cervical lip and relieve that was at 5:40. So from 11:35 when my water broke to 5:40, that was, the labor timeline. And it looks like things started to get intense around 2 in the morning. And I just remember being so tired. I was so exhausted, probably the most tired I've ever felt in my life. And I couldn't sleep. Like, there's no sleeping. You're in labor. So your contractions are happening very frequently, and you have like moments to rest in between. And I just remember like closing my eyes and just feeling like I was like falling asleep. So at 5:50 is when I started to really push. Like, that's when she really came down and you could, she was getting ready to like come out. That was at 5:50. And I had her at 6:28. So it was about a half an hour of kind of getting her down the canal and out. So at 6:25, you could see her head. And I remember she asked me, she's like, do you want to reach down and touch your baby? Like, her head's right there. And I was like, nope, I'm just ready. Like, I could feel everything. And it was so intense. And I remember with Aiden, I had an epidural, and so it was fine. With Aiden, my water broke, and so everything started to progress naturally with him, but it wasn't progressing quick enough, so they gave me Pitocin to try and move things along. And I remember with him, it went from 0 to 100. It was like really intense, really fast. And I look back and I wonder if I could have done it natural with him, because I was working through my contractions, but it came time to check my cervix, and I like couldn't move. And I think looking back, I was probably going through a contraction, but I just remember being like, no, like I can't. And they're like, just come down to the edge of the bed. We're just going to check your cervix. And I was like, no, I can't move. And they were like, okay, well, if you're in this much pain now, like maybe you should consider getting an epidural, because, you know, that window of time closes and then you can't get an epidural. So I felt very like in that moment, I was like, okay, just give it to me, you know. But looking back, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could have done it with a little like coaching and a little just like patience. Like maybe I could have done it. But this time around, I had to really get my mind right. Like I had to mentally prepare that there will be no epidural. Like you're going to go through this, and there's never going to be a chance where they're going to be like, okay, like the window is closing. Like, no, I had to go into it very confident and like knowing that I will get through this, and there's no other option. I'm not going to the hospital unless it's like a dire emergency. Like there will be no other option, and that's very important. So if you're going to have a home birth, you have to mentally prepare yourself for the fact that you're at home and that's that. Like you're having that baby and you'll get through it. And I'm so thankful that I have my sister and my mom and my husband, and just like having all these people around me that were like supporting me and telling me like, you can do this. Because there was times when I would feel like I can't do this. Like I can't do this. And my midwife would say, you're doing it, you're doing it. And of course my husband was so supportive, and he was just like, you've got this. Like you're doing it, babe. And they were reading me scripture and just like reminding me that I was made to do this, that God made me to do this. My body could handle it. That for, even my dad told me before, he was like, people have been having babies for millions of years. Like, yeah, like that's why we're all here. Like we've all been born. Like we've all been, babies have been being born forever. That just sounds so stupid and like duh. But, that's just how it happens. We have babies. And yeah, it was just such a cool experience. One thing that I really appreciate with a midwife is, and again, I don't know if it's all midwives, like mine was amazing. I love her. She's the best. But she had warm olive oil, and so she supported my cervix and like did all the, just like the prepping right before I pushed the baby out to make sure that everything was like supported and intact, and I didn't, she had me, hold during the ring of fire, which is very intense. So if you've heard of the ring of fire, that is a real thing. It is intense. And with Aiden, I was on the epidural, so I couldn't like quite feel the intensity like I did with Evelyn. But yeah, it's like, okay, that's the ring of fire. Like that's fire, all right. And I just remember her just breathing. She was like, like kind of taking like short breaths, and I just remember doing whatever she was doing. I was just like okay, and she was like, just hold it. She was so calm. Just hold it, and I was just like, okay, like I'm holding it. And then the next urge to push, I was like, I have to push, and she was like, okay, and I pushed, and she came out, and it was literally like a minute of very intense. I mean, there was a lot of pain during the whole experience, but a minute of like real intense pain, and then it was like such a relief to have her just in my arms. We had no idea, but like one of the main things that was holding her up, aside from having the cervical lip, was that her arm was up, and so her hand was up against her face, and it was like across her body, and she came out like that with her hand on her face. And she also came out with her umbilical cord wrapped around her body. It was like through her leg and her stomach and like around her neck. And at the time, I had no idea that that was happening. My midwife and her team, they were all so calm, and just like when they came out, they like unwrapped her, and like, you know, everything happened so quickly and like smooth and like swift that I didn't even know was happening. And it kept me at ease, because had I known that that was going on, had I known that she was coming out with her hand up, had I known that she came out with the cord around her neck, like that would have made the experience very overwhelming. I feel like it would have, like, you know, got me a little bit like worried and fearful, and they just handled everything as it happened, and they were just so well equipped to do it. And like I said, they just made my birth experience like just peaceful. And yeah, and then I got to just hold my baby and do skin to skin and nurse her, and she latched right away, and you know, it was so incredibly beautiful. I didn't have to have her like whisked away from me at all. You know, everything we got to do happened right there in my bed. I did not end up having her in the water. She was born in my bed. And, you know, one of the things I worried about was it just being like this bloody, crazy like mess of like a birth, and like it's in your home. And let me just say, it was not like that. Yeah, it was such a good experience. I just encourage you to just trust your body, to trust yourself, to just trust your decisions along the way. If you're going to have a home birth, you know, find a midwife that you trust. Find resources out there to like just make you feel comfortable with your decision. Go watch a million birth stories. Go read whatever books you need to read. But whatever you do, just make sure that the decision that you make is the one that you want to make. After I had the baby, we were able to just lay with her. So I didn't have to have, luckily I didn't have to have any stitches. I had no tearing due to being able to naturally labor and have everything progress slowly, and being able to just kind of hold her in position during the ring of fire. I think that that's always like a crucial point of your birth, so that you're not just like, you know, forcing her out before your body's like ready. So the recovery was amazing. There was very minimal, I mean, of course it was painful, you know, just having a baby in general, but the recovery itself was very smooth. I know with Aiden, I did have to have some stitches, and, you know, the recovery was a little bit rough, because anybody who's had a baby knows, like, peeing after birth and those things, it's always a little painful and nerve-wracking, and just like, you don't want to do it. But this time around, it was fine. Like, I was shocked. I was like, wow, this is such an easy recovery. Like, everything couldn't have went any smoother. And because we were home, we were able to have my family, like, tend to us. So my parents cooked us breakfast, because I had her at 6:30 in the morning, so 6:28 to be exact. But we had breakfast the next morning in bed with the baby, or I guess that morning. We had breakfast that morning in bed with the baby, and just being in my own home, being able to just shower in my own shower and not leave my house, it was a dream. Jake and I were so exhausted afterwards, and to not have to, have people waking us up all, every so often to check my vitals and check this and check that. Like, my midwife and her partner stayed and finished paperwork and, helped clean up. And we literally just got to get in bed, which we were already in bed, but we got cleaned up, or I got cleaned up, and then we just laid in bed. Like, I just had my baby in my own bed. Like, it was so crazy. Like, she was perfect. I felt good aside from being exhausted, but I was just living in that moment and just, like, soaking up all of the emotions. It was so beautiful. So that is my birth story. It was the best experience I could have ever imagined. And I'm so grateful to God that I listened to my intuition, that I followed my heart, that I did what I thought would be best for me and my family, and I trusted God to get me through it. And He did. He brought me the most amazing midwife and team. I truly just feel like He had His hands all over this birth and knew what He was doing and knew that I was trusting how He made me to birth my baby. And I just wanted to share that because I think it's such a testimony to just believing in the goodness of God and believing that He will bring us through whatever we're facing. Going through my pregnancy with COVID and all the fears that were just surrounding us at the time, being able to shut all of that out and just trust God and trust His plans for us, I think was huge. It was crazy. The world around us was crazy. Everybody was scared and everybody was fearful, and we were able to just put our faith in God and trust the plans that He had for us. And I don't believe in coincidence. I don't feel that it was a coincidence that, we finally had this baby on the way. It's something that we had always wanted, was a bigger family, and here we are experiencing it while everyone else is, scared, and we were just trusting, I think it really shows that you can get through anything, even when things look scary. Like, you don't have to let fear grip you and make your decisions for you. You can have full power over your decisions, and don't let the enemy in. Just don't let him win. That's what he wants. The enemy wants to come in and try and steal your joy and make you fearful and put doubt in your head. I mean, there were a million reasons that were given to me as to why I shouldn't do the home birth, and why I should be fearful and why I should be scared. And as much as I respected those, concerns and understood them, my faith was way bigger than my fear. And I'm so glad that I trusted myself and that I trusted God to get me through that, because I had the most perfect experience, and it's one that I will never forget. And I can't wait to share it with her one day. And it's brought my husband and I closer, and it's just reaffirmed what we already knew, that God is greater than any fear or doubt or, you know, anything. God is good and wants good things for us. And that's my birth story. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that it's helpful to somebody. I feel like there's a million other things I could have talked about, and I rambled a lot in this video. And so I hope that maybe there's more to come. I don't know if people will have questions or more questions about, you know, certain parts of my story, but I would love to share them. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to comment them. And yeah, until my next video, my work here is never done. Bye guys.